Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to be showing how I create my acrylic paint mixtures for fluid art pouring. I have my cup here with mixing stick. I have my Floetrol. This is a paint additive I use in every pour. Really helps to thin out the acrylic paint. I have my black and white. Not too picky about the brands for my black and white. I just buy bulk containers. For any color or shade though, I like to use the Liquitex basic acrylics. This paint is vibrant, it's a great consistency, it's the only brand I use. I also have some water, will help thin out that mixture further and get that perfect pouring consistency. So let's get started. I'm going to be mixing 5 neutral shades today. To start off, I will be mixing a black mixture. So I fill my cup here about halfway with Floetrol, and I'm going to be putting equal parts in acrylic paint. I don't measure, but the mixture is approximately 50% Floetrol, 50% acrylic paint. So I'm going to add in the black paint here, and then I add in some water to thin it out since this brand is quite thick. It would be too thick for pouring. If your mixture is too thick, it doesn't spread over the canvas well, doesn't show clean lines. When it dries, the paint can crack on top, and it's just not a good look. So you want to make sure that it is the correct consistency for pouring. So I mix it really well here, and I lift up the mixing stick. As I drop it down, I can still see the shape of the paint on top. So that is too thick for pouring. So I'm going to add in a little bit more water, mix it again, and then we'll check that consistency. You want it to drip off the mixing stick as you lift it. You should see the shape of the paint on top as it drips down, but it should disappear quite quickly. So we're going to test it out here, drip it down. I can see it, but it disappears. So the black mixture here is perfect. It's good to go. We'll move on to the next color. Now I will be mixing a off-white cream color. With my fluid art, I typically don't like to use a pure white color. I find it's quite cold, it can be overpowering, and it diminishes any of the vibrant colors. So to mix the cream, I'm going to start by adding the white acrylic paint here. Again, about half Floetrol, half paint. And then I just need a tiny bit of the brown and yellow to get that warm cream color. So I have my brown liquitex here. It's my favorite color, the burnt umber. It's actually the only shade of brown I use when mixing. I'm not going to pour it directly into the Floetrol. I often will accidentally pour too much and the color is darker than I want. So I just put a little dollop of the brown and a little dollop of this yellow oxide color. Just a tiny bit, and that should do it. So I'll add in some water, and we'll mix here, and you'll see it's a beautiful, warm cream color. I add in the yellow with the brown, or else it gets almost a peachy pink undertone when mixed with the white. So there you can see it. It's already the perfect consistency. And if I lift up the white here, you can see in comparison, it's a lot more warm. So the cream is ready to go. On to the next color. For the third color on this neutral palette, I'm going to be mixing one of my favorite neutral shades. This shade took me quite a while to figure out the ratio for, but now that I have it, I absolutely love it, and I use it all the time. So as I poured the Floetrol in there, I noticed there is a little slimy chunk that does happen with Floetrol sometime. So I'm just going to fish it out with my mixing stick before it gets mixed well and you end up with a bunch of little chunks on your canvas. So now the Floetrol is in the cup. We're going to go and add in white again. You can see why I buy more bulk containers of white since I use so much. Then back in with my favorite burnt umber brown, a decent amount of that. And then my favorite yellow, which is the cadmium yellow. You can see compared to the primary yellow, It's not as bright, which I really like for my pours. So that's my go-to yellow. So I added a little less yellow than the brown there, and then I'm just adding a tiny bit of this burnt sienna. I used to mix this color using primary red, and red is just such an overpowering color, even mixed in small amounts. So I found this burnt sienna color, and it works great. So now that's my go-to for most neutral palettes that need that red undertone. So I'm gonna mix it really well here. And you can see we have a beautiful camel beige color. Check that consistency. And it's too thick. You can see the outline on top. So I'm gonna go back and add in some water and we'll mix again. I only add a little water at a time. You don't want it to be too thin. If your mixture is too thin, all the colors blend together. You don't get those clean, crisp lines, and the colors start to turn muddy as they mix. So just a little water at a time, lift it up, and I can see the pattern there dripping on top disappears quickly. So the camel is done. On to the fourth color. The next neutral color I'm going to be showing is Greige, which is a gray beige. It's another go-to color of mine. It goes with absolutely any palette. I just love it. So I have the cup filled halfway with Floetrol. I'm adding in some white acrylic paint again, using the burnt umber again. And then to cool it down and turn it into a greige, adding in a tiny bit of black. Black is another shade that can be very overpowering. So I'm just gonna put it right on the mixing stick here to make sure I don't pour too much. And I can always go back and add more black after if it's not as dark as I want. So we're gonna mix it here, and I can see I already have the exact color of greige that I'm looking for. So I don't need to add any more brown or black. But it's too thick, so we'll go back and add in the water. I've learned to mix all of my own colors and shades, just using a few of the liquitex colors with black and white. This way I can get absolutely any shade I want, and I'm not buying copious amounts of different colors. So once I've learned to mix these shades, it's just become a lot easier. If you want to see any particular shade, just let me know and I'd be happy to put together a video mixing it. And for the last of these neutral colors, I'm going to be doing my favorite metallic shade, which is an antique gold. I actually ran out of the liquitex gold that I usually use. I had this one lying around, so we're going to use it. It says that it's bronze, but it's quite orange, so we'll have to adjust that. Now I can see the paint is quite thin. I'm not going to add any water to it. And if a paint mixture is too thin compared to the others you're using in a pour, it overpowers the entire canvas. If you had one color that was a lot more thick, then it gets buried underneath and you don't see it. So it's important that all the colors are not only the correct consistency, but the same consistency. As you can see, it's very orange. I need to add in some brown and black. The liquitex paint will also help to thicken up this mixture a little bit. So I put the burnt umber in there, and I'm just going to use a tiny bit of black. I'm actually just going to take it right from my mixed black here, since I only need a little bit of it. Now I'll mix this all up, and it will turn to a beautiful antique gold. I absolutely love this particular shade of gold. I think I use it in nearly every pour that I create. So the liquitex brown has helped thicken this up nicely, and the antique gold is the correct consistency. And now we're done. We've completed all 5 acrylic paint mixtures in our neutral palette. I'm going to bring them all together here. The camel color is looking a lot more orange on camera than it does in person, but you can see this palette still looks nice together. The next step is to mix these all in a cup to layer them, and that will be the next video. I'll also be doing a video about how I determine how much acrylic paint mixture is needed for a canvas size. So thanks for watching. Bye.